What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. We are back. It is Friday, 1:30 p.m. PST. You can always find us here at 1:30 p.m. PST on Mondays and Fridays. And we are back after a pretty crazy week of all sorts of drama, pretty much surrounding Tom Aspinall. Oh, by the way, happy Halloween, everybody. I do have my Halloween costume right here. And then we got Justin joining the show. Let me add him up here. But I do have my Halloween costume right here. You might be wondering, what is this pendant? If
it's like Mortal Kombat.
As old as I am, you may or may not remember the never-ending story and the character of Atreyu, who rides the flying luck dragon. So that's who I'm going to be. I'm going to be the guy Atreyu, and the luck dragon will be my dog because I'm going to mute you, Justin, while you get set up. It does seem it is the luck dragon who looks exactly like my dog. So my dog is going to just play the luck dragon by being himself. I'll be Atreyu, and we are good to go for Halloween. All right, so we have a crazy week of what I'm calling eye poke gate. A lot of different things that have been going on, a lot of different things that have been said, a lot of people coming out to support Tom Aspinall. Justin is one of those people. A lot of people, I'm not like attacking Tom Aspinall. I've been trying to just share the reaction and response of most fighters, because I am not in the right position to criticize Tom Aspinall for doing what he did. It just wouldn't make sense. It would be illogical for me to have a harsh stance, in my opinion, one way or the other. But I have showcased what many fighters have said, and we're going to talk about all that today. I also just posted, if you guys didn't see, I posted a video breaking down Anthony Smith in a recent video that he dropped today. Okay, I'm going to unmute Justin. In a video that he dropped today, talking about the whole eye poke gate and talking about his take and how people misinterpreted his words and his opinion. So we've got a whole ton to break down and discuss. Tehran says, "What's up, family? What's up, Tehran?" All right, Justin, it's been a week. Okay, eye poke gate is getting out of control. I've made multiple videos about this, maybe too many, and it's just been crazy. We have Ariel Helwani obviously firmly on the side of Tom Aspinall. No real surprise there, as Tom Aspinall seems to be at odds with the UFC, so Ariel will definitely do his thing anti the UFC. And then we've heard a lot of people being critical of Cyril Gane, back and forth. Justin, let me turn it over to you. You're a fighter, so you have, in my opinion, the right background and pedigree to actually talk about this knowledgeably. Where do you stand right now? And let me give the specific question. It's not just did Tom quit or did Tom not quit or whatever. My question to you is, if you were in the position of Tom Aspinall, and we don't know we still don't know. That's what people keep saying. Only Tom knows. But roughly in that same circumstance, and you got the double eye poke and you're the headliner, what would you have done in his position? Do you think you would have done the exact same thing? Or do you think you would be like, nah, man, I'm going to bite down my mouthpiece and keep fighting?
Dude, so I had a friend that had a similar situation, Darren Kirkshank. He was in the Ultimate Fighter finale. He wasn't fighting the championship, but he was on the card. And he got poked in the eye. And he didn't have a torn retina or anything, but he couldn't continue. And Darren's one of the toughest guys I've ever met in my life. And he said, why would I fight compromised? I mean, I have two fists coming at me, two knees coming at me, 2 feet coming at me, 2 shin bones, 2 elbows coming at me from all different angles. Why compromise yourself when you can't see things coming from a certain side? When you talk about Tom Aspinall, man, guys, we got to give this guy a lot more credit and where it's due. We're talking about our UFC champion. We're talking about a guy that goes out there and finishes guys over and over in the first round. This guy's as tough as they come. I'm giving him a benefit of the doubt. He's our UFC champion. I think a lot of more guys need to give him the benefit of the doubt that he is injured. He couldn't see. He couldn't continue. Because if it was a minor injury or a minor eye poke, take your 5 minutes. All right, now we can see. It is what it is, and there's like it happened to me when I fought Devontae Smith. My eye got swollen shut. My initial reaction was, hey, give me a second. Let me get my vision back, and then let's continue. But when I looked up at the big screen and realized there was no coming back from the swelling of my eye, I was totally fine with the stoppage. Dude, we're fighting compromised enough. We fight with broken bones. We fight with injuries coming into a camp. Why fight with one more thing that's compromised? You saw the last fight where I got knocked out. I got poked in the eye. I didn't get any time to recover. Chris Tione, and he's a good friend of mine, made a bad judgment call, said I didn't get poked. I couldn't see the strike coming from the right side. I mean, there's a perfect example when I fought, Armasana. You were there. Like, I got poked in the eye. I couldn't see things coming from this side. And within the next 15 seconds, he threw that spinning heel kick, hit me, dropped me. And I mean, what if that happened to Tom Aspinall? I think Tom Aspinall made the right decision. And if he's still, and I'm still hearing from his dad that he still can't see out of his right eye. Whether do I know it's true or not? I don't know. But again, let's give this guy the benefit of the doubt. He's our UFC champion. He deserves it.
Okay, there's still a couple of points I want to circle back to, but I think that's really good perspective. And I hate to put you on the spot, but I want to. And I'm not trying to get
Put
you
me
to
on
throw.
the spot. Let's go.
I'm not trying to get you to throw Tom Aspinall under the bus. But like, I'm just saying, I'm asking you this because this is what I've been hearing other fighters say in regards to this thing. Do you think, you knowing yourself and knowing your mentality, do you think you would have made the same choice as Tom Aspinall? Not saying it's right or wrong, not saying maybe his is the smarter choice, but would you probably have made the same choice or a different choice?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what you just asked me, and maybe I just didn't answer it good enough. I'm not going to say I would have, and I'm not going to say I wouldn't have, because we can't, you and I and anybody watching doesn't know the severity of it. We're getting what
That's
Tom
true.
says. So when I say let's give the guy the benefit of the doubt, let's give the guy the benefit of the doubt saying that it's as bad as he says it is. And if it was as bad as he says it is, absolutely. I mean, there's no question about it. He can't, dude, he's fighting Cyril Gane. And I tell you what, and I did some research on this, and I remember, I don't know if I asked you this morning when we talked, or yesterday, or the other day before, about me making another video about a Cyril Gane. But this is a very common thread. And the more, because I wanted to make a really good video about it, and I still planned, well, I'm going to talk to you about it because you've made a lot of videos about it. But this is not the first time Cyril Gane has poked somebody in the eye. This is not the first time he's done something dirty in the fight, whether it's punch him in the back of the head, whether it's kick him in the balls, whether it's poke him in the eye. I've seen videos on Instagram. And again, before I made the video of titling this, I want to do a little more research and talk to you. But people are saying Cyril Gane is one of the dirtiest fighters in the heavyweight division. I'm curious of your opinion on that. But if this is a common thread, what I'm seeing video after video saying it is, and I even saw it when I was looking up some Gable Steveson stuff today before I just made the video. Everyone's saying he's the dirtiest guy, and if this is a common thread, I mean, we need to look into this. And again, I think Tom Aspinall. Just to specifically answer your question, because I feel like I'm avoiding it. Yes, I would have made the same decision as Tom did if it was as severe if Tom says it is.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's why I wanted to ask you. And again, not trying to get you to throw Tom Aspinall under the bus, but the reason why is because that's what's been intriguing to me, is hearing all the other fighters like Anthony Smith, Chael Sonnen, TJ Dillashaw basically being like, yeah, it's kind of in our sport. You got to fight. You just kind of fight through it, or I would have fought through it. Or Matt Brown even came out and said, well, yeah, I would have fought through it as well. And so that's what I'm trying to get my head around. Obviously, he has full, like, he did nothing wrong. And I would have made the same choice, what I mean, way earlier in the fight. So I'm not trying to say that Tom did anything untoward or anything wrong. I feel like I'm not in a position to really answer this question, but as a fighter, you are, or other fighters are. And so that's why I was just curious to get your thoughts. Now, there's another question I have for you as well. And this is another place where Tom's been getting a lot of criticism. By the way, talking about Cyril Gane being dirty, let me respond to that real quick. I haven't looked into it, to be honest. I haven't done a comparative analysis of like the number of eye pokes or fouls he's committed compared to other fighters on the whole, or on average. So I don't know. Sometimes these narratives spin out of control when just you get the hate mob after you, and then they just highlight all this stuff. So I don't know how he compares or stacks up to other people, but I will tell you, I don't want to believe it because I like Cyril Gane. He seems like such a great person via interview. So like, I don't know, but Western right here is saying Gane is in fact the dirtiest heavyweight. So maybe that is backed up statistically. I haven't looked into it. Okay, but let me ask you a different question. So I think this is another reason why Tom is getting backlash. And I wanted to know your thoughts because, again, I don't have the perspective that you do. Tom is getting criticism because as soon as the eye poke happened, he immediately said, I can't see. And what most fighters have been saying is like, you got to know that's not what you say. You just don't say it. And again, maybe at the end of the 5-minute recovery period, if he legit can't see, you say, I had the truth, I can't see, and you call it off, no problem. But I think where some people are criticizing Tom is that was the first thing out of his mouth right after, indicating that, yes, maybe he could not fight truly at the end, right? And the eye was so bad that he absolutely made the right choice. But I think where people are getting a little bit critical is, well, you didn't even give yourself a chance. Like Chael said this, you were just holding that thing there. You didn't even give yourself a chance to see if it could work. So he had already made it at least looks like he had already made the decision to take that out and to bounce as opposed to give it a true, honest try. But the counter argument to that is, hey, like maybe that's what he shouldn't have said. I can't see, but like sometimes you're so overwhelmed that you actually might be blind that it just comes out. Like, what's your take on that? Do you think that yes, that shows the true nature of where his head was at? He wanted out, and that's why he said I can't see. Or do you think it was just like that's a visceral response?
I think it's a visceral response, man. When like because hey, just give me a second. I can't see. Again, I'm going to go to bat for Tom Aspinall here. I mean, yes, as a fighter, you're not supposed to say that. But in the heat of the moment, dude, how many times have you said something, it comes out, like talking pneumonia, it just comes out and you don't really think about what you're saying. You're just in there, hold on, I can't see. Oh, fuck, I wasn't supposed to say that. Again, I'm going to give Tom Aspinall the benefit of the doubt here. I'm not, again, do I know the guy personally? Nope. But I've seen this guy fight. Dude, he's as tough as they come. He's the heavyweight champion. He's arguably the baddest man in the world. Being the heavyweight fighter, being the UFC champion. I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, man. And, sometimes we say stuff and it's like, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have said that. Again, I have to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He's never given me another reason it's not like in the history, oh, well, he said this when he shouldn't have, and he said this, or he's done this that seems controversial. He hasn't. This is the first time that a situation like this has ever risen in his career, and I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. If it's a reoccurring theme, all right, now we can start talking about, oh, maybe he's looking for something, but he's never done this before. And, just mistakes get made, especially in the heat of the moment. Just like you said, things get said in the heat of the moment. And, he couldn't see. And from my understanding is, me seeing the videos this morning is he still can't see out of his right eye.
Yeah, that seems to be what they're saying on the Tom Aspinall channel as they're speaking to more doctors. It's just such a tricky thing. Look, let me say, and I'm gonna read a couple comments first, real quick, and then I'm gonna come back to this point. And by the way, I'm not trying to call Tom Aspinall's family anything, but there are some things that we need to consider as this saga continues to play out. Tehran says, as an aside related to Max Holloway, I know I'm gonna get heat for this. I don't care as much as I love Max Holloway. He's a good fighter, but he's kind of a dirty fighter. Remember, he poked Gaethje in the eye twice. Dustin in the eye. I didn't know about, I don't remember Dustin, but I do remember he did poke Gaethje in the eye, and not many people talked about that. I don't know if that qualifies him as a dirty fighter, but because again, I think we'd have to look at the statistics of the counted eye pokes or the purported eye pokes compared across the board, but that's a fair point. In their third fight last July. Yep. MGAL4 Production says, Justin James GOAT. Sup, Huzaifa, bro. Gain fouled him, finger in the eyeball. Yeah, absolutely. So the problem is, with what's happening right now, dude, like I mentioned this last week or on Monday, Tom is in a world of trouble right now. That's the truth. People like commented on my video. I said Tom's in deep trouble with Tom is in trouble or something. And people were like, oh, look at this keyboard warrior talking smack. I'm like, I'm not talking smack. I was just saying what I think is the truth. If you actually watch the video, don't just look at the thumbnail. Like I do think he's in big trouble with the UFC. That's because he made the comment about vacating because he didn't want to fight his friend. His dad said he doesn't want to re-sign the contract and wants to go box after this. Like two things that Dana White absolutely hates, and with good reason, because they're negative for the brand. And then this happens where I think there's some people feel that he should have pushed through and kept fighting again, which isn't a fair take, like you said, because we don't know the true severity. And if it's truly as bad as they say it is, then maybe, like you said, we would have done the exact same thing. The problem that we face now, as you mentioned, with his dad saying, hey, he still can't see in the eye still bad, because I saw those clips and I made a video about it a day or two ago featuring his dad saying it's still really bad. He still can't see anything or whatever. The problem now is I think Tom is in so much deep trouble with the UFC. I think the UFC is rooting against him because now he's clearly not a team player. He doesn't want to resign the contract. We're having Francis Ngannou Part 2 happen, which we know the UFC, that's a threat to the UFC and the business model and the legitimacy of the brand being the best, fight the best. Not if the champion's walking away and trying to box, right? So there's a big problem here. And because of the effect, the trifecta of negative things that are surrounding the Aspinalls right now, all I will say is there is massive incentive to really push the narrative that the eye poke was very severe, potentially more severe than it really was. I'm just saying the incentive is there, but I can't say that means anything. Because Tom still could be like, I don't care about the incentive. This is just the truth. This is the honest truth. But I'm just saying it just raises a question. It's just like anything. If there's a massive incentive to do X and X is done, you have to ask a question. I think it's only fair. Anyways, that's the only thing I wanted to say. Do you have a response to that, or do you want me to read? So I'm just throwing it out there as like, I don't know if I'm being unfair with that, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so again, I'm not trying to throw Tom Aspinall under the bus, but I think these are reasonable questions that we have to ask. Okay, we're going to go through a couple more comments, and we're going to move on to something more positive because some huge stuff has happened in this week that has been absolutely mind-blowing. And if you missed it, man, it's incredible. But anyways, Western says Max broke Gaethje's nose too. Yeah, he did break. I mean, I can't forget that. He broke Gaethje's nose, and that led to kind of, I think, did Cyril Gahn, I'm pretty sure he broke Tom Aspinall's nose. I don't know for a fact because they haven't said anything about it, but it looked like it was damaged or it was bloodied. So maybe it was broken, maybe not. But yeah, that's a big impediment in a fight. So Hudo's song eye poke was nasty too. Yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty. Henry did try and take the time and tried to blink his eye and tried to see, and he couldn't get it back, and it was what it was. Gain's jab is insane. Yeah, it's really good. Dude, Gahn is so good. Hey, Justin, let me ask you a question. Let me do one more comment, and then I want to ask you a question about the rematch. Blame that trend on Conor. He started the go boxing thing with UFC fighters. Yeah, but they're putting a stop to it. Because it's not good for business. It was a spectacle. It put the UFC, it put Conor McGregor on the map big time. It was good at the time, but I think they realized in retrospect that it's a bad look for the sport. I've talked about it many times. It creates the perception in the mind of the public that boxers can beat up MMA fighters. Hey, Justin, how do you think you would do in a fight against Floyd Mayweather, the greatest boxer of all time? Street fight.
I'd finish him in the first round.
Yeah, and that's the truth. That not even the first round, probably the first 30 seconds. That's the reality of the situation, but it gets twisted. So I get from a business perspective, they don't want this happening because they're getting their best going out there and getting smashed by the best in boxing. In boxing, it's not a good look. Let me ask you a question. In the rematch with Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gahn, who are you picking?
Tom Aspinall, 100%.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I don't think he was winning this fight. I know a lot of people think he was. And, I mean, really, in my opinion, I mean, he landed 2 or 3 great shots, bloodied Tom up, but that's not like he didn't rock him. You know, I mean, he didn't almost finish him. Tom Aspinall was coming forward the whole time, you know, and it is one of the nastiest eye pokes I've ever seen. It's, I think people are getting this narrative because Tom is so consistent with finishing guys in the first round. And oh my gosh, he didn't almost finish Cyril Gahn, so Cyril Gahn was going to win. It's like, dude, they're going to fight for 25 minutes, man. Tom Aspinall all the way, and I still think he's going to be a huge favorite.
Okay, Tehran has fair point. I picked Cyril Gahn in the first fight. I'm definitely picking him in the second fight. And again, that's me picking also too with my heart the first time, although I did feel like people were overlooking Cyril Gahn for really the wrong reasons. But I will be picking him again. I actually think he can pull it off. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great rematch. So I'm excited for it whenever it happens. Yo, Tehran dropping more breaking news as per usual. I got to look into this. This is actually an interesting fight. He's saying that Floyd's about to rematch Pacquiao in April. That's actually a great fight. You know why? People want to see Floyd lose. So now Manny Pacquiao could have a potential chance to actually beat Floyd the second time around. I think he had some arm injury before. So that's actually a really smart fight. And that's one of the few boxing matches I would be interested to see just to root for Manny Pacquiao, be a little bit of a hater. Okay, now we're going to move on to a feel-good story, something that is out of control. If you missed it, you guys have no idea what you missed yesterday. Gable Steveson is unreal. If you guys don't know who he is the Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling a couple years ago. He is a phenom. He's also played college football. He is one of the most athletic people I've ever seen, probably by landslide. Maybe not. Maybe Jon Jones is just as athletic, but he might be one of the most athletic and highly credentialed fighters ever to enter the heavyweight division. Now, I'm going to turn over to Justin in 1 second because he can really talk about just how phenomenal Gable Steveson is. But before we do that, I gotta pull up. You guys got to just see what happened. And on top of this, bear in mind, I didn't cue the clip out. Give me 1 second. But bear in mind, not just the performance that you're about to see. Okay. It's not just about that. Listen to the reaction of the crowd. Listen to the reaction of the people. This was absolutely insane. And then we're going to chop it up and explain just why this performance was absolutely so incredible. Last thing I'll say is if you guys are unfamiliar with dirty boxing, this is what Gable Steveson has done. By joining this promotion and by taking on this fight, guess what? You can only box, you can only elbow, you can do ground and pound. You can't wrestle, you can't grapple. He is an Olympic gold medalist wrestler. That's his ultimate skill set. He willingly stepped in there, removing that massive advantage and say, yo, let's go toe to toe and let's just box it out. And you're going to see what happens. This guy, you guys need to be, if you're not excited about him, I don't know what planet you're on. This guy is just an absolute phenom. And look what he does in this straight up boxing match. By the way, Justin, we got to commentate for these guys. No offense. I think we do a little better. I'm not going to say too much negative about them, but like, I think we gotta try to reach out to Dirty Boxing. This would be so fun to commentate for. Okay, hold on. Let me cue. It's almost up here. And here we go. Oh, wait. Unmute this.
Make some noise.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep it muted. No. I got to unmute it because you got to hear the reaction of these guys. Okay, there he is. There's the man, Gable Steveson. We are about to go down.
Oh. Billy Swanson was set to go in our main event at DBS4.
This is the fight we all came here to see tonight. Here we go. Ooh.
Oh, Steveson!
I'm just going to play it a little longer. Just listen to the reaction in the crowd. This is crazy.
Highlight reel finish.
Wow!
For the Olympic gold medalist.
Wow! Absolutely. Wow! Yes, he finished.
That man is a special athlete. That man is something special.
Woo! Wow!
Whatever
Wow!
you thought that he couldn't
Wow!
do, he just did more. You take away the wrestling, he's fine using his other tools.
All right, we're going to pause it right there. Yo, like that guy doesn't have a ton to say, but I think that's a genuine reaction. He's like, what did I just see? Wow, over and over. Okay, Justin, let me turn it over to you right off the bat. Give us your reaction. Give us your breakdown of that very short, 13 seconds of that very short finish. Give us your breakdown of what you saw.
I mean, that's a wrestler that looks like a boxer. And, just to go talk about his credentials real quick, you mentioned he's an Olympic champion wrestler, and I looked it up while I was playing. But not only is he an Olympic champion, 2020 Olympic champion, Pan American champion, under 20 world champion, under 17 two-time world champion, NCAA Division I, two-time champion, second-time runner-up, one-time third place, four-time Big Ten Division I champion, one-time silver medalist. He played on the Buffalo Bills. He was just on the practice squad, but still, he was a former professional wrestler for the WWE. Now he looks like a seasoned boxer. He comes out, his footwork looked incredible. He had an incredible jab. He had an incredible slip jab, and that right uppercut was money. And, you see Tehran says, yeah, he beat a can. Yes, he did beat a can, but they need to let this guy grow. They don't want to going to put him against a world champion. Like, let's make sure this guy can fight. And let me tell you this, Gable Steveson can fight, whether it's MMA, whether it's wrestling, whether it's dirty boxing. This guy is going to be a problem for anybody he faces at any level.
Can we talk about the jumping over the ropes? I know that just kind of was like, hey, a fun celebration thing. Dude, he's 256. He jumped the ropes, cleared them. He didn't put his hands on it. He straight up leapt over that. I know maybe nobody's talking about that. Tell me about that. You're a professional athlete. You trained at the highest level.
I mean, he just goes to talk about why the NFL wanted him, because he's a physical specimen. I mean, those ropes are probably, 50 inches tall, maybe 50, 60 inches tall, maybe. And he cleared them twice with no bound. It's not like he ran up and jumped over. He was standing still, getting back into the ring and cleared them with ease. This guy is an athletic specimen, and he's going to do really good in this sport.
Wait, Western, you said you're not sure you saw something special. Okay, hold on. Listen, guys. Listen. You can say what you want about his opponent. His opponent didn't look that bad. His opponent was throwing some hard jabs and hard shot with the lead left hand. It's not like he was he's a UFC level heavyweight. No, but dude, you have to listen. This is not just a regular MMA fight. Okay. Think about when he fought Braden Peterson. Yes, MMA bread and butter. He smashed the guy. I can understand a little bit more about the hey, he's not fighting at this level. This was a straight boxing match. This guy is a wrestler. He went straight to boxing and made it look that easy. And that guy, by the way, I made a whole thing about Billy Swanson. Billy Swanson has been training and fighting MMA for 10 years. Now, you might look at his hey, MMA Joey, Cleveland, let's go. The 5 wasn't working. Yo, thanks for joining. Dude, listen. Here's the thing. Gable Steveson removes his greatest power, his greatest strength, which is wrestling, grappling, taking it away, going in, just throwing fists, fighting Billy Swanson, who has a really good amateur record, by the way. Fine, his professional record is lackluster. He had a lot of losses, but the dude can fight. He's trained MMA longer than Gable Steveson, and Gable Steveson takes away his greatest asset, goes in there, not only finishes the guy, annihilates him. Now, the other thing you mentioned, I know you mentioned the slip jab, that uppercut, the way he wrote, if you guys have ever trained fighting or Muay Thai, right? If you watch the way he rotates his entire body, he's already 256, but it was like perfect rotation and perfect momentum shift where, dude, I don't even know how much force, how much pounds per, pounds per square inch, the measure of forces, how much force was delivered to that guy's face, to Billy Swanson's face in that shot. So to me, I think we need to look at this in a different perspective. That was beautiful. That was amazing. I cannot wait. Now, Justin, hold on a second. Wise Contra Gio is in the mix. And by the way, MMA Joey, hold on. MMA Joey, thank you so much, dog. What a legend. He's just been supporting our channel through and through. Really appreciate it. Giving me a lot of great advice behind the scenes in terms of how to make better content and be a better voice for MMA fans and whatnot. So really appreciate that. And thank you so much for the donation. We really appreciate it. The 5 wasn't work as an inside joke. But anyways, Wise Contra Gio might be new to the channel. Thank you so much for joining. He says, be real. Does Gable do anything to Tommy Searle, Sergey, or Volkov? I got my answer, but let me turn it over to Justin. Yo, what's your thoughts?
See, this is why, and no offense to Gio by any means, but this is why I hate MMA fans. It's like you're comparing a guy that's 1-0 in LFA to the best fighters in the world. Oh, yeah, he might be good, but he can't, like, you're talking about Cyril Gane, who just fought for the UFC championship, Tommy Aspinall, who's the UFC champion, Volkov. Like, these guys are the best of the best. And let me tell you this, I think he can. And let me tell you why. We had Brock Lesnar come on the scene. He was 3-0, gets signed to the UFC. He goes 1-0 in the UFC, gets a title shot, beats Frank Mir. He's the UFC champion by the time he's 5-0. Dude, like, you put Brock Lesnar and Gable Steveson, they're not even from the same breed. And they're not like, we haven't one, maybe you know what, don't quote me, but yeah, he was an NCAA champion, but not a Olympic champion, not a 4-time NCAA champion. And Brock Lesnar had 0 boxing. He only had wrestling, and he still became the UFC champion. Gable Steveson and Brock Lesnar on paper are not on the same and in the same playing field. Gable Steveson and Brock Lesnar are not on the same playing field in a wrestling match. Gable Steveson and Brock Lesnar are not in the same field in a boxing match. And you guys want to start talking, like, the guys want to know. That's why I want the UFC to do the right thing by him. I want him to get a couple more wins. So, you know, we can have, you know, no offense to Gio, I'm not talking trash to you by any means, so please don't take it that way. Or Western, who's our longtime listener. Like, you guys are already comparing him to the best in the whole world. Let's groom this guy. Let this guy get into a rhythm. Let's get this guy more experience. You guys see, as soon as Mick Maynard and you guys don't know who Mick Maynard is. He's a UFC matchmaker. He's sitting with Jon Jones right next to the ring. As soon as he comes over, he slaps Mick Maynard's hands. He gives Jon Jones a hug. Like, the UFC's interested in this guy. And if the UFC does sign him early on, like, they need to do what's right by him. He's only 25 years old. He's only 25 years. Give this guy an unranked match. Like, everyone was so hype about Bo Nickel. He's 10 times the wrestler Bo Nickel is. He's 10 times the athlete Bo Nickel is. He's 10 times the striker Bo Nickel is. And, you know, like, they did right by Bo Nickel by giving him some easy fights. And they're like, all right, let's test this guy against RDR. They need to do the same thing with Gable, because they let this guy evolve as a fighter. Let all the MMA fans get behind him, so when he becomes the UFC champion, he has that much stock. And I'm just really worried that the UFC is not going to do him right.
Wow, that's a big statement from you. By the way, just to give you guys some context, Justin wrestled all throughout college. He runs the wrestling program, right, at Extreme Couture. Correct. He runs the wrestling program at Extreme Couture. And I never heard you say that before. So you just said that Gable Steveson is 10 times the wrestler and 10 times the athlete as Bo Nickel. That's a big statement. Why? Give me more details on that. Why do you feel there's such a gap?
I'm looking Bo Nickel's credentials up right now, or his wrestling pedigree, and of course he's an incredible wrestler. There's no doubt about that. But I want to pull up before I start talking.
Sure.
Go ahead. Take another minute while I look this up.
So while you look, the thing, here's what I'm seeing when I look at, and I'm not even comparing him to Bo Nickel, but you see, the way that this guy seems to be some sort of an athletic phenom where has he been boxing his whole life? Like, I'm very confused how he has such perfect technique, or maybe he's just such a phenomenal athlete and such an intelligent human being that he's able to pick up these different skill sets very, very quickly. But the fact that he's got it's like Francis Ngannou goes back in time and trains wrestling for like 20 years straight and becomes the top of the game, and then comes back in as like where actually he can knock people out, but then the wrestling is just so top level. It's blowing my mind. I don't know how people aren't getting excited about this guy. And you're right. I know maybe I'm too early on the hype train. And maybe there is some truth to what Western is saying, that it's still unproven, that the level of competition needs to be substantially raised. But to me, with the pedigree, with everything we've seen here, him taking away his greatest asset and still absolutely obliterating his opponent, it's a lot there. I think that we can glean that this guy is going to be a massive star and I'm going to go out on a limb, say a long-time multi-defending champ in the UFC. Okay, hold on. Let me show this clip, and then I know you're still looking stuff up about Bo Nickel.
I got it. I'm ready.
Wise Contra did respond to you. He said, there's like 30 dudes at heavyweight. How many cans can Gable crush? There's just no fights at heavyweight, so he would have to fight the ranked fighters sooner. I think you're right, but like, I think Marcin Tybura, like some of these guys, dude, I feel like Gable would smash most of these dudes with his wrestling pedigree. I don't know. But anyways, Justin, let's address what you were talking about, the Bo Nickel versus Gable Steveson comparison first. Take it away.
Okay, yeah. So that's why I'm glad I looked it up, because Bo Nickel does have a lot better resume. I thought he was like a one-time NCAA champion. I was wrong. He's a 3-time NCAA champion, under 23 world champion in 2019. So the wrestling pedigree is similar. But when we talk about athleticism, Bo Nickel can't go and be on the practice squad for the Buffalo Bills. When we talk about athleticism, I just think that his athleticism and his strength and his power is just going to be so much more. Now, when we talk about the 30 cans at heavyweight is the weakest division in the UFC. There are 30 cans in there. So let's let him get his feet wet in the UFC before putting him up against a top 10 guy. Let's let him get 2 wins against cans. Because when you go to the UFC and there's going to be so much hype behind him that everybody's going to be tuning in, let's let him get in there and knock 2 cans out before we give him a top 10 guy. I just think it's bad business to throw a 25-year-old with so much potential right straight into the top 10. And because if he goes in there and loses, everyone's like, oh, hype train derailed, as LMMA fans are. Let this guy get familiar with competing in the UFC and competing in MMA before we throw him into a top 10. Do I think there's 30 cans he can destroy? Absolutely. And I seriously think he can compete in the top 10, but why put him against those guys with top 10 competitive experience? Let's groom this guy a little bit. And like I said, in a year or two, sure, throw him in the top 10 and see what he can do. But this guy has the possibility to be the greatest heavyweight of all time.
I'm with you on all of that. The only thing that hasn't been assessed, in my opinion, at least as far as I can tell, is his jiu-jitsu. I'm curious to see his jiu-jitsu. Obviously, we know his wrestling is going to be the best in the heavyweight division by landslide. His boxing seems to be good. I'm also curious about his kicks. We haven't seen, there's still a lot to learn. And I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm not saying that, oh, he probably has deficiencies. I'm just curious about this guy. I want to see him fight more and see what he can do. Anyways, my point in showing this to you guys, and my point, and Justin, I know, made another video about Gable Steveson coming onto the scene. I think our point to show this to you is, dude, this is what MMA is all about. Watching these prospects rise up and have the opportunity to just smash competition, be dominant, show us new levels to which we can climb in terms of our own personal growth or development or reaching our potential. Like, this guy is at the pinnacle of the sport, and I think he's going to unlock a new level of skill and a new level of domination. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but that's why I believe right now is possible, and that's why it's so exciting. That's my 2 cents. But anyways, Chad B says, how old is Gable? Gable, I believe, is 25. I don't know if you can double check 25. That. But yeah, and Chad says Gable versus Jon Jones of the White House. Don't think that's going to happen.
Jon Jones is coaching him.
I know. Yeah, I think it's I assume he's joking, but yeah, Jon Jones is coaching him and has got his back. So I don't think these guys they're tight. So I don't think they would ever fight. Western says, what about his ability to mix it up? 100%. Yeah, exactly. So these are all unknown questions. Like, I don't know. We saw in the other MMA fight, obviously he uses grappling to get some ground and pound and did mix it in together pretty well. But you're right. These are questions. I don't know. Just from what I've seen, the athleticism I'm seeing is unmatched. And I know you guys are thinking I'm an idiot for even bringing up the jumping over the ropes. I've never seen anybody do that before in the heavyweight division. I don't think it's like, I think it's significant. So anyways, Tehran says Jailton Almeida can probably give him a tough fight at heavyweight. Did you agree with that, Justin?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. It's hard to say because we don't truly know how good he is. We can make our assumptions of how good he looked. And just to answer what Tehran said about, or was it Tehran? Oh no, Western said about mixing it up. Like he threw some punches against Peterson, against Braden Peterson. He threw a body kick against Braden Peterson, and then he took the takedown. So I do think that working with Jon Jones, their game plan is going to be to mix it up and make it an MMA fight, not just a wrestling match. And with you have that kind of athleticism, that kind of power, I think he's going to have a lot of success mixing it up. Now, could he snuggle him? I mean, dude, we got to talk about this. I mean, this guy is so strong. Like, I think even just, I mean, when Brock Lesnar came into the scene, like it was tough for people to hold him down. And I think Gable Stevenson's 10 times the athlete of Brock Lesnar. So I guess time will tell.
It's very, very exciting. By the way, Wise Contra Gio did respond to you. So let me read this. And Barat's back in the mix. We're going to read his comment in a second. To that, I would say this. I don't expect someone as Gable stature will come to the UFC for peanuts. So I would assume that the UFC will kind of throw him into the fire so that they can get their money's worth. It could. I don't know about that though, because to get their money's worth truly, they're going to want to build him up. They're going to want to set him up for success and let him have a long run. Because when you have these champions at the top that are exciting, he's got a great personality too. I've listened to his interviews. This guy's like, he's a star. He is a star waiting to be born. They want to take their time and they want to give this guy a chance to reign at the top for time, build up the legacy, build the legend like Khabib, like Anderson Silva, like GSP. And then it gets more and more intriguing. So I think they're going to do right by him because it's a mutually beneficial objective. Barat says, isn't DC? Yeah, I see you in 1 second. I'm just going to read Barat's comment, then I'm going to throw it back to you. Barat says, isn't DC a good example of what's possible for Gable? Yeah, but I think Gable's a substantially higher level athlete even than DC. No, not substantially, but a higher level athlete than even DC. Justin, take it away.
Yeah, it's just to touch on that. I think he's a better athlete than DC, and I tell you what, I think he takes training a lot more serious. DC is an incredible athlete, but even when he was training for the Olympics, his coach talked to me, and I talked to him personally about how he'd be eating McDonald's before training and stuff like that. I don't see Gable Steveson doing this. And go to touch on what Gio said. Here's the thing: he fought for the LFA. The LFA, the UFC's monopolized MMA. All right, what I mean by that is he's not going to have that much bargaining power until he has some credentials, until he has some wins. For the LFA, he probably got paid less than $5,000 to go in there for the dirt. I don't know for sure, but I do know a lot of guys that fight for LFA, and usually it's $1,500, especially to make your debut. They might have made an exception for Gable. Maybe they gave him $5,000 flat, but then you look at this, the Dirty Boxing, they have a check in the back, a $2,500 bonus. All right. So right now, Gable Steveson isn't fighting for money. Now, let's say the UFC wants to sign him and Gable Steveson is like, oh, well, I'm the man. I want more money. And the UFC says, no, go fuck yourself. What other organization he's going to go to get the popularity that he could be in the UFC? He has no bargaining money no bargaining power just yet. I still think he's going to have to go and do what the UFC wants until he has enough behind his name, because a lot of people don't know him yet. I mean, I know him because I'm a wrestling fan and I'm a football fan, but a lot of people don't know who he is yet, and he has no bargaining power yet.
I think you're right, and I also think that he truly wants to be in the UFC and he wants to compete at the highest level and prove himself, because he was making probably, I assume, very good money in the WWE. He has chosen to leave the WWE and come into this realm to compete. So I think that is important to him. And I bet you he also recognizes with the tutelage of Jon Jones that it's not about the short term, but it's about the long term. So he gets into the UFC, makes a splash, gets a couple of crazy victories, kind of like Khamzat Chimaev when he came onto the scene and just smashed people at the beginning. And then when you renegotiate for the next deal, that's when it makes sense. That's when it's a mutually beneficial agreement, because now you built up a name, you built up hype. People know who you are. They want to see you fight. You can actually make the UFC money because your name brings people to the pay-per-views, or brings viewers to the product. And then it's a mutually beneficial thing. I think it's going to be totally good. Everything is going to be cool with Jon Jones too there to guide him. I think this is going to be a match made in heaven. I cannot wait. Chad B says, didn't he pass up the WWE? No, I don't think he passed it up. No, he went to the WWE first, unless I'm mistaken, but he had the option right after the Olympics when he was 22 to either go to train MMA or go to the WWE. He chose to go to WWE, and I think because he felt like that was an opportunity that was right there that he could jump into and capitalize on, and chose to delay his time coming to the UFC. Now, why he decided at this particular point as opposed to sooner or later, I don't know. But yeah, that's my recollection. So he did his thing in WWE. And now he's here. So let's hope he comes in the UFC next. Justin, take it away.
Yeah, last piece. So maybe, and this is not a fact, but maybe he wanted to make sure that he could strike, because listen, guys that transition straight from wrestling to dirty boxing don't look like him. Brock Lesnar, even at the pinnacle of career, never looked like him as a striker. I mean, he could have took a year or two and be like, hey, I'm just going to work my boxing or my kickboxing, because he looks like somebody. He looked in that fight. Again, it was a can that he beat, but he looked like a seasoned boxer. His jab looked great. His footwork looked great. His uppercut was nasty. He had a great slip jab that kind. He went jab, slip jab, right uppercut. I mean, and he didn't look like a wrestler in there. He looked like a boxer. And like I said, maybe his delay was, hey, I want to focus on my striking for a year or two before I jump into the MMA scene. I mean, that's totally possible. Not for sure, but it sure looked like he's put some time into his boxing.
By the way, guys, if you could like the stream, we'd really appreciate it. We appreciate all the comments, all the participation, all the engagement. Thank you guys so much. But if you do have a chance to click that like button, it does help the stream. It goes a long way. You know, I will say this too. How long has Bo Nickel been in the UFC? 4 years, 5 years? Dude, Gable Stevenson's boxing looks 10 times better than Bo Nickel's. I'm not trying to say this to throw shade at Bo Nickel, but holy smokes, I think you're right. I think he must be doing it the right way to really develop his skills, so that finally when he gets in the UFC, he's a force to be reckoned with in every position. This is insane. This is so exciting, so crazy, and this guy is the real deal, a complete fighter, and maybe the best all-around fighter that we've ever had enter the heavyweight division of the UFC. So it's very exciting, and we shall see how it goes. Okay, we talked a lot about all this. We still got 3 more topics. We're going to get into topic number 3. This is just a little bit of interesting news. Ronda Rousey had some controversial claims this week about Khabib. What she said, roughly, I'm not going to even show the exact clip, but basically she says, look, MMA fans are all about what have you done for me lately. And then she kind of like ropes Khabib into this statement. I don't know why she's picking on Khabib, but she's like, look, everybody will be all about you while you're winning. And then as soon as you lose, as soon as you hit a rough patch, you're terrible. You suck. She gave some different examples of fighters who were on top, were champions. And then as soon as they started losing, oh, that guy's no good anymore. Or Anderson Silva. I think she even mentioned that as an example, throwing shade. And she's like, the reason why fighters are so much all about Khabib is because he left on top. And she made like a comment like that's why people's lips are so securely around his whatever. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like an aggressive comment. But Justin, let me turn it over to you. I know you know Ronda a little bit. I know you know at least folks that have trained with her and stuff like that. You've talked about her a little bit on the show before. When you heard, I don't know if you heard these comments, but if you're hearing them now, if you heard them, what was your take? What was your reaction when you heard that, was to why she was even bringing this up?
I mean, I'm not sure why she brought it up, but I agree with her 100%. We're talking about one of the greatest, if not the greatest. We're talking about the pioneer of women's MMA right here. She had such a great reign, but she's not just for Khabib, but anybody. And I mean, how many title defenses did Khabib have? Like 3? Like this is just, I mean, how many did Ronda have? I mean, you got to take it. You got to take what she says to heart, because she was at the top for a long time. She had a bunch of title defenses. And Khabib, Khabib was great, 29-0 or 30-0, whatever he was. But I agree with if you stick around long enough, this sport will catch up to you and you will lose. And I think Khabib kind of got out early. He kind of got out. I mean, like I said, he had 3 title defenses. I think I'm trying to think who it was. Justin Gaethje, Poirier, and
Conor was
Conor McGregor. Like, okay. He had 3 good wins. But I mean, if he put together a reign like Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, or even Ronda Rousey, I think he'd get a lot more credit. He went out on top. I think he knew that the sport was catching up to him, and eventually guys would figure him out. I mean, that's what happens. Guys, you stick around long enough and your style gets figured out. And I think Khabib would have got figured out and he would have lost eventually. And not to mention, I don't think he was undefeated. I mean, he was undefeated, but I think he lost early in his career in the UFC. I mean, he got beaten up, he got taken down. And, you know, the judges, how terrible the judging is in the UFC and in combat sports. Truthfully, I think he did take a loss early on in his career, and the judges got it wrong.
I think it was like T-Bow was the fight.
Yeah, like T-Bowl or something like that.
So by the way, Tehran did throw this out here. Just wanted to throw this up. He kind of corrected me. He said, hey, Bo Nickal's been signed to the UFC since March 2023. By the way, that is true, but he had his Contender Series fight. He actually had 2 Contender Series fights, and the first one was in 2022. And then he also had another middleweight fight. His first pro fight was in June of 2022. So, like, I get it. I guess my point is, okay, your point is it is a good correction, because I guess technically you don't get in the UFC until after the Contender Series. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, he's had all these professional MMA fights at a pretty high level. Contender Series is still, to me, tantamount to fighting in the UFC for the most part. So all I was just trying to say is, via that comparison, there seems to be a stark difference between the striking of him and what's his name, Gable Steveson, maybe showcasing the differential in terms of their athleticism. Tehran also says Ronda rubs me the wrong way. It just seems like Ronda is salty. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's wrong, but she seems to have a little bit of a negative, like, mindset. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that, but yeah, I don't know why she just all of a sudden. But Justin, you're saying, hey, she's on point with what she's saying, so maybe she has a total right to feel how she feels. Chad says MMA longevity really is the cruelest beast. Eventually, the best do fall, and brutally. Absolutely true. I mean, it's fun. You look at Tony Ferguson, for example. I feel like all people remember are the last 8 fights of his career, and they don't remember all the other amazing, incredible things that he has done. Maybe they will one day, eventually, and it'll be a different look. But that's how it is right now. Khabib fought Ally Aquinta. Ally Aquinta wasn't a title defense. That was for the title. That's when, I know some people consider the first title like actually a defense, or maybe is that what you're referring to, Tehran? But yeah, he fought Ally Aquinta, and that I thought that was for the belt originally, and then he won it, and that's how he got the belt. But I could be wrong. Okay, let's get into the mix. Let's talk about topic number 4. This is kind of a fun one that I know Justin's not going to really enjoy this topic too much, but it's the truth. I kind of have to say it. And if you're a Jon Jones hater, or you want to get mad at me about this, fine. But it is kind of crazy. If you think about all the buildup, all the talk about Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones, everybody's saying Jon Jones didn't want to fight him. Then he's asking for all the sorts of money. Then people are criticizing him for fighting Stipe, which was already set in stone before the injury happened and before Tom Aspinall became interim champ. But fine, even if you discount that, everybody was been getting on Jon Jones, and it seemed like even Ariel Helwani and these other folks were saying his legacy has been tarnished. It'll never be the same. Somehow, by sitting on the sidelines, now the narrative has flipped to basically everybody being like, whoa, now see, it's good. After this fight, if Tom would have fought Jon Jones, I think Jon would have smoked him. So in all of this, after all the anger, all the outrage, people think that now Jon Jones would have beaten Tom Aspinall. And correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, but that's the sentiment. On top of that, dude, I think he's going to get the White House main event, and I think he's going to fight Alex Pereira, which is what he wanted from the get-go. So now it's like he's bypassed the perception that Tom would have beaten him, and now people are back on the Jon Jones train thinking, no, Jon probably would have smashed Tom Aspinall after that Strogan performance. Right or wrong, but that's perception, number 1. Number 2, he's somehow getting in to be at the pinnacle of the biggest card of all time, fighting the guy who he wanted to fight from the get-go, Alex Pereira. Justin, have you ever thought about this? How somehow Jon Jones has won and beaten the entire MMA community? What are your thoughts on this?
I hate it. I hate it, man. It's because he didn't finish him in 2 minutes. Like, come on, man. Like, let's not forget, Jon Jones went like 4 rounds with an old, unmotivated Stipe. Did we just happen to forget about that? Stipe hadn't fought in like 3 years. He said in his post-fight interview he didn't want to fight. He doesn't want to fight again. Unmotivated. He went 4 rounds. Let me reiterate that. Like 4 rounds with an old, unmotivated Stipe. Like, I know people are like, oh, he's one of the great, like, yeah, in his pinnacle, yeah, he sure was, but he isn't anymore. And again, he went 4 rounds with him. Why is nobody talking about that? All they're doing is talking about how he finished Cyril Gane. And like, I don't know, man. It's so funny. It's oh, well, he didn't finish him in, the first round like he has every other win he has. So obviously Jon Jones is going to beat him. I just think it's a stupid narrative.
It is a stupid narrative for a multitude of reasons. And I don't disagree with you. Like, for example, everybody's got a different game plan based on your style matchups and your strengths, your weaknesses. So it's like it may not make sense to try and get an early finish against Cyril Gane from Tom Aspinall's camp because that doesn't fit into their calculus and their game plan. So like, yes, it is a dumb comparison. I'm not trying to legitimize it, but that is the vibe. That is the feeling that people now feel like Jon Jones basically de facto beat Tom Aspinall because Tom Aspinall couldn't beat him, Cyril Gane as definitively or as quickly or arguably was going to lose to Cyril Gane. So I just think it's very interesting and fascinating how somehow through all the crap and all the hate and all the negativity that Jon Jones had to endure, everybody calling him a duck, like somehow the dude is still on top and still winning. Like, I think it's wild. I'm not saying one way or the other. What's right? No, I'm just sitting back as an observer, be like, it's kind of wild and it's kind of fascinating. But anyways, Chad B says I'm with James 100%. Yeah, in terms of the but you're right. I'm with you too. But that's just it. Sometimes there's obviously a massive disconnect between reality and perception, and I think this is one of those cases. But yeah, it's crazy, and I do think Jon Jones is going to headline that White House card. I think Dana White's making a show and saying, "Oh, I can't trust him. I don't know if we can do it." I think that they know that will be, dude. Aspen at this point, the way that Aspinall Gane went is kind of the perfect situation for the UFC because now they don't need to ever have Aspinall go against Jon Jones. That decision has been made in the minds of fans already. So therefore, if it would have happened before, if Aspinall would have steamrolled Gane, they would have been like, oh, he's taking Pajeda because it's the easier fight. That notion has been dismantled in most fans' mind. So now we truly are seeing GOAT versus GOAT, the battle of the GOATs at the top of the bill. And it's all worked out. And Jon Jones will no longer have to fight Tom Aspinall to preserve his legacy or his reputation or anything. It's so wild. Justin, take it away. What's your 2 cents?
So I think we're jumping ahead right here because what if Tom Aspinall goes out and knocks Cyril Gane out in the first round in the rematch? Because they are going to rematch, and I'm really hoping that rematch is sooner than later. I'm really hoping that rematch is December 13th. And if that rematch is December 13th and Tom Aspinall goes out there and smokes Cyril Gane or beats his ass for a round or two and then finishes him, then what's the narrative?
You're right. I think that could change the narrative too. And I actually mentioned this because I think now the UFC actively is rooting against Tom Aspinall. So I think they're going to try and do this in a way that I think they're going to try and either get the fight immediately, like you said in December, so to give Tom as little time as possible to adjust his game plan and to have the eye recuperate if there is indeed something really truly happened to the eye, like really bad. They're going to try and get him to turn around right away to put him at a disadvantage so he does lose. But you're right. If he does win, I think that could throw a little bump in the road, but I think most people would still go back to, okay, fine, he beat him the second time, but he needed 2 goes. He needed to get a feel for, I could already see that narrative being spun. But the other thing that I predicted in one of my early videos, we'll see if I'm vindicated or not, I think the UFC is going to hold Tom's feet to the fire because they already talked about wanting to leave and go box. They're going to try and make him re-sign. I think they're going to make him sign a contract extension. If he refuses, they're either going to make him fight immediately to disadvantage him, like I mentioned. And if they can't get that to happen, I would not be surprised if they push this fight until after the White House card, just so that scenario doesn't unfold. That's what I predicted like earlier in the week, that I think if they can't get Tom Aspinall to play nice, sign a new contract, stick around and get rid of all this boxing talk, I think they're going to do 1 or 2 options, try and rush the fight to disadvantage Tom. Alternatively, they're going to push it past June. That's a hot take, and that's a crazy take because that's a long ways away. July is a long ways away from now. We're in October. That's 9 months away, but that's what I think might very well happen. So we shall see how it unfolds. Okay, last topic. We're going to do a quick preview of UFC 322. We're going to have There's a lot of amazing fights on UFC 322, so I'm going to pull it up. And we're just going to look at the main card. Might take a quick look at the prelims and the early prelims as well.
What's the date on that?
It's going to be November 15th. So we're 2 weeks away from tomorrow. It's coming up. Now, we're going to do fight breakdown videos. Justin is going to look at all these different matchups and do his great analysis on all these fights. But let's just take a moment to see just how ridiculously strong this card is. So obviously we have JDM versus Islam at the top of the bill. Islam chasing legacy by trying to become a double champ, something that Khabib never did, with just one loss on his record, but a truly impressive record. And I know you're going to break that down. Do you have any initial thoughts as to which way it's going to go?
Yeah, people aren't going to like my take on this, and I can't wait to do a breakdown because I already know how I'm going to do it because I know a lot about these guys already. But I'm taking JDM. I think I think he's going to win a very strong decision. I could see it being even 49-46. What he did to Bilal, to me, was just so impressive, and I expect him to do the same thing to Islam.
Oh, I hope you're wrong because I'm such an Islam fan, but we shall see. And you do know your stuff. So obviously that is something that people need to take into consideration. We got this fight, the female GOAT versus GOAT. I mean, maybe fine, you'll say Amanda Nunes or this and that, but this is going to be a super fight, a women's super fight that everybody's going to get behind. We got Sean Brady coming back against Michael Morales. That's a cool one. Bo Nickel, people are criticizing the UFC for putting Bo Nickel on the main card. Why? He's a name. He's a known name. Whether you love him or hate him, this is a great fight that I'm also looking forward to. And then look at this. Rounding out the bottom of the main card, Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Also two huge names. Everybody loves Carlos Prates. Everybody loves Leon, or a lot of people love Leon Edwards. I think he was champ. He's a legend. You've talked very positively about him. So we got a stacked main card. Let's look at the prelims. I haven't even fully checked. Holy smokes. Look at this fight. The feature prelim, that's a banger. Do you have a sense of how this might go down? BSD versus Beneil?
I think BSD had, I'll look more into it if you guys want me to do a breakdown of it. But my initial thought is BSD because Dariush is just kind of getting old. But Dariush shows up, man. He can still fight. But if I had to give my initial prediction without doing much research, I'm going BSD.
We also got Kopylov coming back. That guy's a legend against RoboCop. Incredible. Tracy Cortez. But we got Malcolm Wellmaker. If you guys don't know, you guys got to look into Malcolm Wellmaker. This guy is relatively new to the sport of MMA, but just an incredible personality, an amazingly fun fight style. His striking is out of control. Picture perfect technique, in my humble opinion, on the striking side. And he's had some amazing knockouts, 10-0, undefeated. Like, this card is so insane. Hold on. Let's just take a quick look at the early prelims. If there's any interesting standout fights. I mean, we all know Gerald Mearshart, of course, against Kyle Dawkins. I mean, look, what we're seeing on the prelims and the main card, I think is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, we're going to have some good breakdowns and good discussions. So we got a lot to look forward to as we round out the final few main events and big fights with ESPN before we go into the new year, a new phase under Paramount. We're going to go through a couple comments and then we're going to close out. By the way, I did mention to Justin earlier in the week, just a fun fact that I kind of even forgot to connect the dots. I almost worked at Paramount years ago. This is 12 years ago now when I used to be an attorney. I had an offer to join the Paramount legal team. So I was actually going to be doing stuff so my background is in patent law, but I was going to be doing stuff on the trademark side, which I didn't have experience in, but they were willing to give me a shot, because I had 4 years in law, and they're like, okay, you'll be able to figure it out, whatever. And I wanted to take the position, but I said, I'll take it contingent on me being able to start in late August. And they said, nope, you got to start July 15th. So I ended up not taking the position, but it's just kind of funny that I do have a little bit of a random connection with Paramount from back in the day. Studio, super cool. Would have been fun to work there, but that's an aside. Anyways, it's kind of random. We got a couple comments. So, Chad B says, is the UFC going to make any changes to the eye poke penalties? Apparently, Josh Thompson said they're going to, the commission and the refs, the commissions might be making, because I don't think it's in the UFC's hands. It's up to the commission who makes these rules. But I think the commission actually is thinking about making a change in the rules effective next week. I think something along the lines of making eye pokes a strict liability offense. That's what Josh Thompson said. I heard him talk about it earlier today. We'll see if that actually goes down. But yeah, I think a rule change, according to him, is coming pretty soon. Barat says there was 30 seconds left in that round. Tom may have gotten the round based on the stats and the visuals based on pressure. You think Tom was going to get that? I mean, maybe. We don't know. There was still 30 seconds. You're right. It's fair. It's possible. Hot take, JDM is going to beat Islam. Oh, snap. Tehran and Justin. That's bad. That's bad for Islam if you two both think that and agree on that. That sucks. JDM should be able to stuff the takedowns of Islam. But isn't Islam so much, still pretty wide margin? I mean, as good as Bilal isn't Islam better?
I want to look it up right now. Hold on.
Tehran says, if Islam loses, I don't think the potential Topuria fight makes any sense anymore. I don't know. I'd still be down to see it. I mean, if Islam stays at 170, maybe not. But yeah, it would be maybe, I don't know. Well, who knows? Maybe Ilya will go up and face JDM. That would be crazy. Cody Haddon is no pushover. Won't be as easy as a fight for Wellmaker like people think. Yeah, I don't know much about Cody Haddon. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy fight by any means. I just can't wait to fight. I can't wait to see Wellmaker fight again. Okay, Justin, did you want to add any final thoughts as we come to the very end of our show?
Yeah, I want to check this out. So I just looked up the Tapology. So Tapology does something really cool. Every fight they have a poll for all. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Okay, guys, stack up. They have Islam favored at minus 260 right now. That is insane. So you're going to get about plus 220 for JDM. The polls have Islam winning 53% of the time. The odds makers have it way different. So I think we stack money on JDM and make some here. Really excited for the fight. But guys, you got to remember what JDM did to Bilal. And like, love him or hate him, Bilal is an incredible fighter, and he can make fights boring, and JDM shut him down. So I expect the same thing with Islam.
Wow. All right. We shall see. We are just over 2 weeks away to UFC 322. That's all we got for you guys this Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the commentary, for the comments. All that adds to the show. It makes the show just that much better and more fun for me and Justin. We love interacting with you guys. And if we could do better in any ways, let us know. If there are particular topics that you want us to cover, let us know. We're going to be doing more surveys as well on the channel. So that's all I got. Last thing I'll say, check out the Anthony Smith video that I dropped about an hour and a half ago or 2 hours ago. I worked really hard on it. I think it's got some really interesting things, especially if you guys are not fans of Anthony Smith. Maybe I'll get you to reconsider, but he clears up the entire controversy, makes some great points, and he goes at the haters, which I'm glad he did because he did it in a very, very, I think, effective, articulate, and cogent way. So it's excellent. You should definitely check it out. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you next time. Take it easy.